We're about to scale 20,000-foot snow-covered peaks. Go native in the world's largest tropical rainforest. Race over thousands of miles of desert coastline, all in a country relatively few have visited. And this is the man to take you there. He's explored this land from the inside out. A country that exists both on the threshold of a dream and at the crossroads of mysterious history. A mix of modern cities and ancient villages existing side by side. And our guide is a native-born Highland Indian whose own life has been an incredible journey. And he's going to take us on a wild, magical, mystical tour that can only be found here. This man is going to take us by foot, boat, plane, and helicopter to places most people never get to see. Because our guide has very special credentials. His name is Alejandro Toledo, and he is the president of Peru. So don't sit back. You can't relax. Because for the next hour, we're taking you on an extraordinary adventure to Peru, the Royal Tour. The geography of Peru is unique in the world. While 70% of the country is rainforest, Peru also has nearly 2,000 miles of Pacific coastline and boasts the second highest mountain range in the world, the Andes. Almost a third of Peru's 24 million people live here, in Lima. And driving past the elegant colonial buildings, this is where I begin my Peruvian adventure. I'm Peter Greenberg, Travel Channel's chief correspondent, and President Toledo has asked me to meet him at the palace. I'd met many world leaders before, but this was the first time I had been welcomed with such pomp and circumstance. This was indeed the red carpet treatment. Quite the way to be introduced.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Not a bad around. No, not at all. No, not at all. This is quite a room. It is.
Ever since the Spanish conquered the Incan Empire in 1532, there has never been an indigenous Peruvian serving as the country's leader. In 500 years, Alejandro Toledo is the first descendant of the Incas to be elected president. Toledo's success is one of the more amazing stories I've ever heard. Just a few years earlier, on the streets outside the doors of this palace, were some of the largest anti-government demonstrations this country had ever seen. It was Alejandro Toledo who led a massive protest movement. Defying death threats, tanks, and tear gas, Toledo helped force corrupt leader Alberto Fujimori into exile. He then ran for and won his first elective office, the presidency. Alejandro Toledo was born the 8th of 16 children, 7 of whom died before the age of 1. By the time he was 6, he was already working as a shoeshine boy to supplement the family's meager income.
I lived in a shanty town, and there was a couple of Peace Corps volunteers who arrived during 63, 64. They were Joel and Nancy Meister, and I persuaded my mother to give them space to live. And they discovered some aspirations in this crazy kid, and they introduced me to the American education system. I got a scholarship to go to San Francisco, and they helped me, they adopted me.
Toledo was so poor that to raise money for college, he played professional soccer and performed as a street musician on San Francisco's Union Square. But he persevered and earned a PhD from Stanford, where he met his wife Eliane. He then taught at Harvard and worked at the World Bank and the United Nations. So in all of that, was there always the destiny for you to come back home?
I always wanted to come back and to give the rest of my life to my country.
But did you ever realize or think or hope that you would be coming back this way?
I didn't know that I have this capacity, to be honest, to persuade the people, to lead my people. I'm a lucky man to have been placed at a moment in history to lead my country to freedom and democracy.
Now, as president, Toledo has encouraged travelers worldwide to visit Peru. Mr. President, when friends of mine have come to Peru before, they always return saying they had such an emotional reaction to their experience here.
This is a very mystical country. This is a country with enormous cultural diversity. This is a country that has deep roots in the Inca Empire. If you want to touch yourself as a human being, come to Peru.
Our trip is going to be an ambitious one, crisscrossing the country on the fast track, and the president wants to keep most of it a surprise. So what's first up?
I'm not going to tell you, but don't forget to bring your bathing suit and have a sense of adventure.
We're beginning our adventure with a flight on the presidential jet, a specially equipped Boeing 737.
Peter, our first stop is about 400 miles north of Lima, a place called Trujillo. It's a small coastal city that's quite fascinating.
Mr. President, why is it so barren down there? I thought Peru would be all Andes and Amazon.
Our entire coastline is a desert. It's because the Andes Mountains block all the rainstorms that originate in the Amazon to the east. Look over here. Below us are the ancient ruins of Chan Chan. It was the largest adobe city in the world, Peter.
Wow, it looks like it goes on for miles.
It does. The Chimú culture that built the city existed at the same time as the Incas. This city is over 1,000 years old. It once housed over 50,000 people.
But for us today, the real excitement happens on the water. Mr. President, it's beautiful down there.
Peter, this is Huanchaco, a traditional fishing village near Trujillo.
Those are some strange-looking boats.
They're coming in from a day of fishing.
Wow, take a look at that surf.
You're about to get a much closer look at it.
What do you mean by that?
You will see.
Okay, let's go do it.
It was a mob scene on the beach. Word traveled fast that the president was making an unexpected visit, and it seemed that everybody wanted to say hello.
This is historically a place where people for many, many years from the Mochica culture used to fish. They go out early in the morning. It's called caballitos de totora. It's made by hand. They do it in one day, and then they go in.
Check this out, Mr. President. They're coming in. They're surfing the waves.
Look at. Now he's surfing. He's showing off. Look at this. Whoa! All right. Good day. Yeah. That's it. Oh! Very cool. Wow. Dinner. Pescaditos. Pescadito.
Seafood doesn't get much fresher than this. We quickly filleted the fish and added a little lemon. And we had ceviche, a traditional Peruvian dish. It had been quite a day. The president told me I'd be meeting a lot of people like the fishermen of Huanchaco, and I couldn't wait to see what was coming next. The president and I continued our tour on the eastern side of Peru, in the town of Iquitos, one of the gateways to the Amazon. But this is only a quick airport stop. We were on the move again.
A little helicopter ride, huh?
We boarded the Russian-made Mi-17 helicopter, the workhorse of the Peruvian armed forces.